Yo, what's up? Welcome to episode 9 of Throwback Hoops. My name is Rob Clayton, and joining me as always is my main man, Woody V. Woody, how's it going?
Robbie, my brother, I love coming on TBH and, chopping it up with you every week, my man. But today is extra special, and I got to admit, I'm a little starstruck, homie, a little starstruck.
Good to hear, mate. Well, yeah, that's, I must sort of introduce, we've got a very, very special guest on the show today, basketball royalty in Australia. And he's covered the game since 1974 and was there for the NBL's first season in 1979. I would like to give a very warm welcome to Boti Nagy.
Thank you very much, fellas. It's a real pleasure to be here on another new and innovative podcast. So, let's get into it. I'm happy to talk about the whole cross-section of that 43-odd years, long though they may be. I might have to go lie down.
No, I really appreciate you coming on, Boti. And yeah, look, obviously, as we sort of told you, we've been big sort of admirers of you over the years of your work and everything else like that. So to be able to get a chance to sort of talk about the game that we all love is a real honor for us. And yeah, again, we really appreciate you coming on. So look, just before we sort of get into it, guys, just a reminder to, if you are watching the video on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And also, if you're listening to the audio podcast, we're available on all the podcast catchers there. Make sure you sort of go in and hit the download and subscribe buttons there. So, all right. So, look, I guess, Boti, we wanted to sort of see, we know we like to wear a jersey on the episodes here. And we know you've got something pretty cool to wear today. It's not a jersey, but it's something very retro. So, yeah, why don't you tell us what you sort of got on there today?
This is the old Newcastle Falcons. One of the clubs I'd love to see restored to the NBL sometime in the future, being one of the original clubs that made up the league, and a lot of players that came through that program I was a big fan of. People like Sean Dennis, Michael Johnson, one of the great shooters of all time. Then Ian Davies was there too. Actually, they had a wealth of great shooters across their journey. Wayne McDaniel, Ian Rebilliard. There's great names that came through that program, and Dr. John Rashke, who started the NBL, he was from there as well. So, yeah, I thought it's totally appropriate to wear this today. What
Absolutely.
Do you guys wear? What are you wearing?
We'd like that, exactly. Well, Woods, why don't you sort of show us what you're sort of wearing today? I know we've gone the NBL theme today with the jerseys. What do you got, mate?
Definitely. And I'm sure my Sydney King, Ice Burton, was there for 1 year, right, buddy, in Newcastle?
Yeah.
All right, okay, so today I've gone with...
Beautiful.
Yeah, Woody's modelling a bit of a Mario Donaldson white Sydney Kings jersey there from the mid-90s. That's a classic jersey, that one, Woods. I'm liking that one.
Actually, yeah. One of my favorite jerseys, Super Mario, with his golden tooth, guys. I love the swag. I love the swagger he played with. Well before his time, he could play multiple positions. In today's NBL, his game would translate well. And when the Chief, Ken McClary, and Dwayne, the D-Train McLean, both left the Kings, the people of the Harbour City needed something to be excited about. And we got lucky. We got Leon Trimmingham and Mario Donaldson and Ice Burton, as I said earlier. And now most people were on the Trimmingham train, but I instantly fell in love with Mario. As you know, Rob, my dad, and I told you yesterday, Robbie, when we chatted, that he used to take me to the entertainment center all the time. And I watched him live so many times at the Kingdom, and super nice guy, did a lot of good work throughout the Sydney community. And I know you got an NBL All-Star jersey behind you there, RC, which you'll speak about later, I'm sure. But I might as well mention that NBL dunk contest in 1994 at the All-Star weekend, which featured Mario Donaldson, Leon Trimmingham, Calvin Talford, and the eventual winner, Brett Rainbow. And I'm sure Robbie and Boti, you'll remember that fondly, right? So,
well, I can definitely comment on that because I was at that All-Star weekend.
I know you were.
Brett Rainbow was a great dunker, but he was absolutely robbed in that dunk comp by a celebrity, I think, judge by the name of Elle McFeast. So that's going back a little way there. Calvin Talford should have won that. I'll take that to the grave there. But look, that was a good All-Star weekend. Were you at that one, Boti?
No, I wasn't, but I was watching it because I remember seeing it play out and I actually wondered who Brett Rainbow was at the time.
Yeah,
he wasn't
right.
really a big part of the Melbourne Tigers roster. Obviously, he was a great dunker from within their program. But in-game dunkers like Calvin Talford, I saw him throw throw down some absolute rippers in game. And of course, Trimmingham was famous for it. When he played in Adelaide, they just threw it up anywhere near the ring, anywhere near the square, and he would come flying in and throw it down. He was quite the freak. When he was airborne, he was amazing to watch.
He was, and I seem to remember Tony Ronaldson might have been the All-Star game MVP for that one there. He just pretty much shot it every time he got it, so good on the Bear for that one. So.
Right? And I'll tell you something, man. Like I found it hard to see what Mario Donaldson is doing today, guys. You know, I had to really dig deep into the internet. But he's a law enforcement officer in Rockford, Illinois. Last I heard, assistant sheriff, and if I'm not mistaken, he's still involved in coaching at grassroots level. And just one of my favorite jerseys in my collection, boys. So, yeah.
That's some good investigating there as well, Woods. I like that. Getting on the dark web and finding out all that stuff. I like
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, all right. Look, as you mentioned, I do have an All-Star jersey hanging up today. Look, I've got some pretty obscure jerseys. That's probably right up there, that one. So, look, it's a 2012 South All-Stars jersey. So that was actually the last All-Star game that they had, which is kind of a shame, right? I think it's something that I'd love to see come back. So that was in Boti's hometown of Adelaide there. What's even more obscure about that one, it's a Kevin Lisch jersey. Of course it is, me being the Wildcats man I am. Kevin Lisch didn't even play in the game. So how's that going? So he was actually injured and he didn't even end up playing. So that's what probably makes that one even more strange.
How'd you get that one, man?
I don't even know. I was thinking about that today. I was even thinking it was like a player cut type one. Like it might have been a player issued jersey or something because it's a very strange sort of length to it there. So yeah, who knows? I might be sitting on some gold with that one there. But looking in terms of the one I'm wearing today, I wanted to sort of honour someone that I love and a bit of a Wildcats and NBL legend there. So I'll just give you a bit of a look on what I'm wearing today.
So for all the viewers that can't see and are listening to the podcast, it is James Harvey, number 33, also a great Sydney King. Let me say, also a Sydney King. Finished his career at the Kings. So.
He did. So it's a signed James Harvey. This one, I like this one especially. So look, I guess just a little bit on James Harvey there. So he played for the Wildcats for 6 years, from 98 to 2004. He won a championship in 2000, and then as you sort of mentioned before, Woods, he actually had a pretty sort of good career after that. He played with West Sydney. He went to the Gold Coast where he was in very good form there. I think he had a couple of All NBL selections with Gold Coast, and then he finished up with Sydney in 2014. So he also obviously had a pretty good sort of career with Australia with the Boomers there. So yeah, James Harvey, not a name I've sort of seen around for a while there, but I just wanted to sort of represent him today anyway. So. All right, well, that's good. So, look, just wanted to confirm with today's episode. So, look, we're just going to obviously be having a chat with Boti. We can't wait to sort of, pick Boti's brain and sort of get a couple of stories from him there, just about some of the things he's seen over the years. We've got a little bit of NBA talk there. We're definitely going to go the Aussies in the NBA segment that we know some people enjoy. And, of course, we're going to do classic packs. Look, the feedback for classic packs just continues to sort of come in and is really sort of pleasing there. I'm looking forward to that. What is that one, Woods? A 1990?
1991 Hoops pack. So
very nice. I'm looking forward to see what we've got in there, see if we get any gold, right? Good stuff.
Word.
All right. So, look, we might just sort of get straight into things with Boti there. So, look, Boti, just wanted to sort of see if you could sort of, I guess, tell the audience a little bit about yourself and, sort of what sort of got you into the game of basketball all those years ago.
I really didn't have a great deal of option because coming from an ethnic family, a large family, 8 kids, 7 boys, one girl, and pretty much all bar one person in the family played basketball because the communities at that time, the ethnic communities, would gather. They're all displaced from Europe, and one of the ways they gathered was through sport. Another way was through folk dancing and those sorts of things. Like the communities tried to stay together within their new cities. So there was a coach by the name of Loisi Ugadi who started the Budapest Basketball Club, named after the capital of Hungary. So every Hungarian in Adelaide was sort of drawn towards that particular team. And I had brothers that were all in the 6'2", 6'3", 6'4" height range, which in the 60s was pretty big. Like my brother was the one that was 6'4". He was a centre, and he was a very good centre. But 6'4" now, he'd probably be bringing the ball up the floor. So things changed, but that's how we were sort of co-opted in because of the Hungarian community, and then because my brothers became quite well known in the 60s in Adelaide as the Nagy brothers. They were very successful. Willacott medals, which is the medal for the fairest and most brilliant player here. that sort of thing. Australian representation, state teams all the time. They were very, very prominent players. And my sister was the youngest winner of the Hawes medal back in 1966. She was 15 when she won the medal as the best player in the women's comp. She was also really good. It's funny because she won the Nagy brothers were famous, but it was the Nagy sister that was the first one to actually win anything in terms of individual accolades. So drawn into the game through that, drawn into riding by the fact that one of my brothers, I'm the youngest, so when I refer to my brothers, everybody's older than me. He was very ill with a lung problem as a kid, and so when I was just a toddler, I used to be left with him while he was in hospital, keeping him company. He was a voracious reader, and he would read to me all the time, and he would show me words. This is even before I could speak, and so I'm sure he's the one that actually got me interested in words as a vocation. You know, as to what direction that was going to take, that I didn't know. But then for my 8th birthday, he's bought me a typewriter. So, you know, it's like naming your kid Jarvis. You name him Jarvis, you're saying you're going to be a butler. You give a kid a typewriter at 8, you're probably saying you're going to be writing in some form. So that's where it all began for me. I started writing, and eventually got into newspapers. I wasn't writing basketball initially. I was trained as a journalist right across the board, doing all sorts of things. In my book, I actually go through some of the things that I did, including there were some really vile court cases going on, criminal cases at the time that I actually had to cover, which, you know, in hindsight were great experience. But at the time, we're like, wow, you know, you have to go home and not think about what you'd seen with the photographs and things in court of the victims and things of that nature. And then, you know, basketball, it was just sort of an obvious thing for me to do. I had a sports editor who had played, his name was Jeff Roach. He's from Newcastle, and he had come to, he played for New South Wales, and then he'd come to South Australia and to play for South Adelaide, and then he'd play for Norwood with my brothers. It was Norwood Budapest at that time. And then he was the sports editor of the newspaper where I started. So it was kind of a fait accompli eventually that I would be writing basketball in my spare time. And then it became more than that over the course of the journey. Well, I hope you guys are still awake. You know,
yeah, no. Listen,
Body on every word, mate.
I know you covered one of the most infamous cases in Australian criminal history early in your career, right? Am I wrong in saying that?
No, you're correct. There was the Truro murders, which were a series of young girls being abducted, raped, and murdered, and it only ended when the perpetrator was killed in a car accident. And at his funeral, his offsider told someone about what had gone on. She informed the police, and that's how the whole thing came to light. And it was the offsider that was in court for this. I was there through the magistrates' court proceedings, and then it went on to the Supreme Court, and I was still covering it then. And yeah, it was pretty gruesome because we used to in a courtroom. I don't know if you ever had to be in a courtroom for any reason, but the judge is obviously at the back looking down, and you've got the prosecutor and the defense at a large table, not like you see in American courtroom dramas where they're all on one side or the other. It's sort of a large table. They all sit at that table, and the media, we sit in the same direction as the judge, looking out. So we're at the same table. We sort of sneak in and we're looking out, and we can see everything. And often they would show us photographs and documents so that we get people's names right, etc. And you know, many times I wish they hadn't.
Right.
Because some of the pictures, especially another case I did, which was a body in the bag. I mean, just by the sounds of that, you can guess that there was a torso that had been cut up and flayed, and it was not pretty things, too. So as much as I really enjoyed the courts because it was drama every day and front page stories and stories at the front that people wanted to read, it was a relief to go back into the general reporter's room when my stint was done, to just sort of going back to handling everyday news rather than that on a consistent basis. It was tough.
So it ended up going from one type of court to another type of court, right, buddy?
There you go. Well done. Great segue.
That's it. Well, now we've got the segue. Look, I just wanted to sort of say as well. I mean, obviously, you're definitely aware that Woody and I, big fans of your podcast that you do with Brad Rosen there, Boti, the Brad and Boti podcast.
We've actually quoted the podcast
How'd you like it?
on many episodes before.
Have you?
On the Brad and Boti podcast, this was said, that was said. We've done that quite a few times, so that's how much love we
said
got.
the check was in the mail. That's good.
So
look, I just wanted to sort of see, Boti, just how you sort of linked up with Brad and sort of, how you sort of enjoy sort of doing that podcast with him.
Well, I didn't know Brad personally back when he was playing for the Sydney Kings. He was just a player on an NBL team to me at that time. And he became captain. I think the team voted him captain because he was such a tenacious player. And it came to the end of his career. And at the end of his career, when he retired from the NBL, in the following season preview, when I was saying, I used to do a team by team preview, I said of the Sydney Kings that Brad Rosen has retired to spend his weekends now or his Saturday nights standing on wedding cakes. Now, Brad saw that and thought it was pretty funny and liked it, which is good because it wasn't meant to, it was just meant as a joke. He's not a huge man, he's a shorter guy, and probably that's where our relationship began, our friendship a little bit from that. And then when he started doing commentary occasionally at my website, I picked him up for a couple of things he used to do, which I found irritating, which was saying that the team is doing well offensive wise, not doing so well defensive wise. That used to just make my head want to explode. It's like they're doing well offensively, but not defensively. Don't add the wise to it. That's not necessary. So I wrote that, and he rang me up and said, "Oh, look, that's a really good pickup. I really appreciate you doing that. Is there anything else?" And then we started talking, and steadily we developed a really strong relationship, where I was sort of giving him some advice, and he was asking me how I thought he should do this, that, and the other. We sort of he had come from a sporting background. He knew I had a media background, so he was sort of picking my brains at that time. Friendship developed, and then years pass. I get a call out of the blue a couple of years ago from Brad saying, "Hey, you want to do a podcast?" I said, What? I don't know anything about podcasts. He says, "Neither do I." He said, "Neither do I. We should be great." Oh, okay. I liked his confidence. And at that time, I had just met Joseph Kaur, who does the NBL Pocket podcast.
On the show last week.
And I had been on his program, and we'd hit it off pretty well. And I rang him and asked him if he would be interested in producing our show for us, because we had no idea of how to proceed. We just knew we wanted to do it. And fortunately, Joseph thought it was a great idea. He came in and we had a meeting in Sydney. We all hit it off, and he told us what microphones to get and what to do, and basically off it went. And it was really Brad's idea. We wanted the point of difference to be initially that we wouldn't just do NBL, but we do NBL and WNBL, because there are people that do NBL, there are people that do WNBL, there are people who do NBA. We just want to be specific and give the women as much attention as the men. And then when coronavirus hit, for us a little bit, it was for our program only, it was a bit of a blessing in disguise, because it meant competitions had stopped. And now it was like, oh, what are we going to do with our podcast? Let's interview people. So we started interviewing people. We started with Lindsay Gaze. His book had just come out.
Yep.
And I had really enjoyed the book. And he wasn't doing much publicity for it. And I approached his publishers and said, we'd like to get him on the program. And they said, look, we'd love him to be on the program, because he's not doing, Lindsay's a fairly laid back character too. He just puts it out there, and if you buy it, you buy it. If you don't, you don't. He doesn't really care. And he wasn't doing any publicity for it. But when he heard that Brad and I were interested, he jumped in. He said, "Yeah, I'd love to do the show," which was great for us. So here was our first interview, which we thought went really, really well. I mean, Lindsay is still running competitions at MSAC at that stage, and during the interview, he got a phone call on his landline, somebody needing players for a game to avoid a forfeit. He said, "Do you mind if I take this?" And we said, "No."
I heard the podcast, Boti. I heard it. I heard the show. I heard the show. I remember.
Right. Yeah. So it was really good, and from that we thought, you know what, let's let's focus on this. Let's do interviews and the NBL or WNBL bits we can just tag on the end, because there's a lot of people doing it. There's a lot of people covering both leagues. So our necessity to do that, once we started doing the interviews and they were working quite well, we were quite happy with the way they were going. We didn't really have a single one where we came away thinking, no, that one was a dud. They were all pretty reasonable, and the people were willing to talk to us and often give us stuff that was quite amazing. I don't know if you heard the one with Trevor Gleeson.
I did indeed.
That was, yeah. I mean, him as a hippie. Can you picture him as a long-haired hippie with a backpack, traveling around the world, getting tickets to go see Perth Wildcats play Houston Rockets in London? That stuff. We're thinking this is gold. We're getting gold. So that's how it came about, and that's how it sort of morphed into what it is now, which is more an interview program and then a little bit on what's going on around the place.
We really enjoy sort of listening to it anytime there's a new podcast. I know that the latest podcast with Wayne McDaniel dropped yesterday, didn't it? So Woody and I both checked it out.
I've heard
today.
all 73, buddy.
Yeah,
I've heard all 73 of them. So, yeah.
I think I've missed a couple, so I feel bad now. But Woody gets the prize there.
Yeah.
Listen, Rob, 17 and 34. Don't worry about that. They were very good.
Very good. Well, look, another thing I wanted to have a bit of a chat about today, Boti, is the thing that the viewers would have seen me holding up at the start of the podcast, and that's this lovely book here.
Yeah.
So, look, when we touched base,
fantastic.
We touched base a couple of weeks ago.
Really good.
And I ordered it. It only came about 3 hours ago, so I do apologise. I haven't been able to read it yet. It's a nice thick book there, but
That's
I'm going to
okay.
get onto that very
That's
soon.
okay.
Yeah, just
Lend it to me when you're done, man.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you could buy your own.
All right, I got to buy my own. All right, I got to
copy.
buy my own.
Buy your
copy.
own.
All right,
Jeez,
man.
come on.
Sacrilege. Okay,
Come on,
I shouldn't have
listen to
said
every
that.
podcast you can buy
I shouldn't have said that, man. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that. I get my own body. Don't worry.
No, so look, I guess I just wanted to ask, Boti, what was the process of doing that book? I know you've obviously sort of done some books in the past and everything there, but what was the process?
Yeah.
And maybe if you've got a little story or sort of, anecdote or something you're able to sort of tell us about that.
Well, it was funny because since I've retired from full-time journalism, I've written writing books. I've written a couple of manuscripts there with various publishers, because they've been fiction, and fiction is pretty hard to get your fiction published. But non-fiction, that's a lot easier. I travel a lot by tram. I'm pointing in the direction where the tram is. If you're ever in town, you know it's over that way. So on the tram, I kept getting this line coming into my head, and the line was, it was the most difficult question I've ever been asked. But then again, I was only 7 at the time, and this line just kept recurring to me, on various trips until I got to a point where I thought, okay, I don't know what this is. I better just hit the keyboard and write it and see what happens. So the second I hit the keyboard and wrote it, I knew exactly what it was. Until that time, it was a total mystery to me. But it referred to a question that Michael Arnett, the great Aboriginal basketball player, the first Indigenous player to represent Australia in anything at an Olympics back in 1964 in Tokyo. I was absolutely besotted with him. I thought he was just the most wonderful person I'd ever met. He was just so charming, such a fun-loving guy, and a magnificent player on the court. Terrific peripheral vision. And I loved him. He played for South Adelaide. And South Adelaide were playing in the grand final against Budapest, which was my brothers and famous people from that era, the Hody brothers and Andras Eiler. There's a lot of great basketball players. And he came up to me before the grand final and said, "Who are you barracking for?" And I was like, "Oh, this is terrible. I love Michael Arnett, but I can't barrack for South. I have to barrack for my brothers." So it was the most difficult question as a 7-year-old I'd ever encountered. It was tough. So I said to him, "No, I'm barracking for Budapest because that's where my brothers are. That's where my family is. But I hope you have a really good game. And if you should win, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world." So, he tousled my hair and walked off and thought that was a pretty good response. They did win, actually. South Adelaide did win that game.
Nice.
But, so that sort of brought me into the story. And then I thought, all right, do I write a memoir or not? So I wrote the first chapter, wondering whether my vanity had got the better of me, whether what sort of conceit is it to think that your story is so very interesting that it might be more interesting than Woody yours or Rob yours. What makes a story interesting or not? So I was a bit bit reluctant to proceed. So I did a full chapter, and then I put it up on my website, and that was the test. I thought if I get a reasonable reaction to this, I'll go on with it. And if I get a negative reaction, people say, "Oh, who do you think you are? You're a wanker," whatever, that sort of thing. Then I think, okay, all right, I'm a wanker, and I should let this go. But the reaction was amazingly enough 100% positive. 100%, and there was no one that said anything negative. And it was a lot of, where's the next chapter? When's the next chapter coming out? That sort of thing. So yeah, that got me excited, and so I just started writing it. And naturally, it's the story of my family and my parents. That thing I'm most proud of with the book is that I got to tell my parents' story, because their story is pretty much a story of heroism under fire, coming out from a really difficult situation in Hungary during the Second World War, going from Hungary in 1944-45 when the war was at its most fierce, to Germany, and going to Bavaria. That's where the family was, and my older brothers and mum and dad. She was heavily pregnant, the mum, and just what they went through just to get to Australia. And then I was born. I'm the only one that was born in Australia, as you can tell from my name. I'm true blue Aussie, Boti Nagy. That's as Australian as it gets. To tell their story was, and the story of my family and the directions that they went in basketball, and it just once I was rolling, and I really enjoyed it. I got to the end, and I thought, okay, now I need a publisher, which is the hardest part. But fortunately, I got a very good tip from Peter Walsh, who's used to be a sports reporter for the ABC here in Adelaide, and also
covers the cricket.
Won a lot of won a lot of awards with the NBL and WNBL journey. He suggested to publish it to me, and I, on his advice, I went there, and bang, they were interested, and the thing got done. It was very exciting, and when if you're holding a copy now, Rob, in your hand, or it's nearby. The first time I did that, it was a very, very exciting moment. To look at it and to see it, and it's quite a nice cover too. It's like,
it is.
Don't judge a book by its cover, but if you want to, this one's not bad.
No, I'm actually looking forward to getting into it. I think, like we said as well, it's not just all about basketball, like you said, Boti. There's obviously the life stories and those sort of things. So I'm really looking forward to sort of hear a little bit more about that.
I think even my parents, coming here in the late 80s from India, it's not the same thing, but they came here from a different culture and started a new life here. They would be very interested to read it. So once I get a copy, I'll pass it to Ma and Dad. And I think anyone else who's listening to the show right now, strongly recommend that you check it out and get yourself a copy, right?
I think it does cover the migrant experience, because at that time there was a great deal of suspicion about these people coming from Europe, fleeing the war, and Australia had been in the war, battling a lot of these people that were coming out now. They're from the other side, sort of thing. So settling in and becoming part of the Australian culture, the multicultural society that we have now, it wasn't as easy as it seems. And I don't think it was particularly easy for the next group that came, whoever they were. I think some Asian, like Vietnamese people coming here, it's like, well, we've been fighting in Vietnam, so I don't know how they were treated when they first got here. And as you say, you're from an Indian background, how you may have been treated. The two things I found that really helps assimilation and the multicultural experience. One is sport, because if you get involved in sport as an ethnic kid, you get acceptance very, very quickly.
100%.
And the other is food. The other is cuisine.
Right.
Cuisine. Like when we got here, well, when I was a little kid, the Australian meal was meat and 2 veg. That's the average Aussie meal. I think we're all eating far more interesting things these days as a result of the cross section of peoples that are now Australian.
Absolutely. Look, I think Woods, you were going to maybe ask Boti sort of if there's any sort of future things in the pipeline. I'll leave that one for you, because I think we might have
man, I just woke up one day and, I think I had a dream or something. I don't know where I heard it, man, but, I heard that there's something going, man. I heard you're cooking. I heard you're cooking, Boti, and there's something in the pipeline for you that's quite interesting. Maybe you want to talk about it. Maybe you don't. I just thought I'd throw it out there. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, well, look, yes, there is something in the pipeline. This book has prompted a different publisher to come to me and offer me an advance and the opportunity to write a book about Paddy Mills. And I think at this particular time, the way Paddy Mills is going, coming off what he just achieved with the Australian team winning that medal, where he's seen in the Australian fabric right now, like he's up for Australian of the Year. I think it's a very timely time to write a book about Paddy Mills, and I'm very honoured and thrilled to be asked to do it. So we've still got some negotiating to complete, but I'm very keen to do it. Yeah, absolutely. And I think they want to have it out by the NBA playoffs next year. So it's a very short turnaround time. So as much as I've enjoyed the podcast, I've got to leave now because I've got to get on with the book.
Yeah, and we were talking yesterday, Boti. I think you're the perfect man to write that. I think you'll do a great job. But we talked about what a good run he's on, and at the time of recording today, Thursday, the 25th of November, he had 23 points today. I think he just kept that run up.
Again, right?
Kept that run up, man.
Oh,
so
yeah.
when Joe Harris comes back, keep him on the bench. Let Paddy keep starting, man. What do you guys think, right?
I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah. He's responded. He's starting to look. I love him as an NBA player, but I loved him more as a player for the Boomers.
Yep.
And they were two different roles. But now
right.
in Brooklyn, I think we're seeing more of the Boomer Paddy.
There's a bit of fever Paddy there, isn't there, this season?
Hell yeah. He was actually mic'd up today, right? On the coverage, and you could hear him speaking to the coaching staff and to Kevin Durant, James Johnson, the kind of respect he garners amongst his colleagues and his teammates. I mean, I'm just proud to be Australian when I see the kind of reverence that he has at Brooklyn with the guys like Kevin Durant and Steve Nash. So it's amazing, right? Like, makes me proud. Makes me proud.
He makes us all proud, and I think the way he summarised the winning of the rose gold, the bronze medal after the game when he was interviewed, I think he summed it up beautifully for all of us, and his emotion. I think we all experienced it.
What a day that was!
So,
what a day!
It was a fabulous day. Yeah.
I think Andrew Gaze was the only one that shed a few tears that day, right?
No, I think I did. I think I did too. I had about
may have had one or two.
3/4 a bottle of Pinot Noir, so I was shedding a few tears as well. Don't worry.
Very good.
I thought Andrew was brilliant too. Andrew was brilliant.
It was great to see his reaction, wasn't it? Look, one of the things I wanted to sort of chat with you we wanted to chat with you as well, Boti, is just what your sort of thoughts on the current state of the game is presently in the NBL, how you think it's sort of placed at the moment, and I guess just further to that, if you'd like to sort of see some expansion. I know we sort of briefly mentioned Newcastle, and it'd be nice to sort of see them come back, but how would you sort of see maybe where the next team might come from and how you see the state of things?
Look, honestly, the way the league is growing, I think they've been very prudent in not rushing. They really thought out the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix experience before they put them out on the floor, and they've really taken their time to get Tasmania Jack jumpers right. So I don't think they're in any great lather to quickly add another team within the next year or 2 years or 3. I think they'll just let it settle for a while. But I think it would be prudent to have a second team from New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, I know it's our NBL, but it's NBL in name. That's the name of the competition. It's not really a national comp in that form that it started. And I would be really happy to see a second team out of maybe Wellington or maybe out of South Island, maybe out of Christchurch, so that you make the New Zealand trip a 2-game trip and a little more financially sensible. So I'd like to see that. I know the Wellington Saints who play in the New Zealand NBL. They've made some noises in the past, but it's never gone anywhere.
Yep.
And again, like I said, the NBL will handle it in a prudent fashion. I would like to see a team in Newcastle just because of the historical significance of it. But whether it has the sponsorship, the crowd, the facility, those are all very, very important elements now in any new team. Canberra would be great. Canberra has such a great, rich history, and its women's team. I mean, I think they won championship.
They're unbelievable, aren't they?
Yeah. So now, whether that in fact means that it would be really hard to re-establish a men's team there because all the sponsorship, etc., heads toward the women. So maybe, in a conversation I had with Phil Lynch, who was a basketball lifer and has done a lot of commentary over the years on television, he doesn't really think that or last time I spoke to him, I should say, he didn't think it was viable at this time for a team in Canberra. But that is another location I'd like to see a team. and this is the one that's kind of probably off the wall, but I wouldn't mind seeing one in Darwin.
Damn.
It's interesting.
Truly
make it a
might be an
national league,
interesting place to go.
Damn,
Yeah.
definitely.
Then you really have no cons. But initially, if there's going to be an 11th team, I think you should be looking across the Tasman.
I think you're right.
I think that's the most viable.
So, Boti, you're not expecting Singapore to come back anytime soon? Or?
Get some Rod Grizzard, man. Get some Rod Grizzard, like some Benny Knight, right?
Rod could play a bit, yeah. He played for the 36ers.
I know he did, and the Kings for a sip of coffee, the Kings for a sip of coffee, right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. There was a period there with the 36ers and then the Kings too were like the elephant's graveyard for basketball players or imports. They ended up at Adelaide or Sydney.
Yep,
they were at the end of the road. But it's good to see the Kings change that culturally, and now Adelaide's trying to do the same with CJ.
I like that. Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, look, I did sort of set us all a bit of homework this week, so we're going to get onto that shortly. But I just thought we'd just
all right, Dad.
Briefly, yeah. Well, mate, I spent a lot of time doing that. I couldn't just work it out easily, but I just wanted to sort of see what you guys are thinking in terms of the top four this year. Just what were the four teams you guys think would sort of make the finals in the NBL this year?
Well, I never pick a top four. I learned years ago that it's just smarter to pick a top three and just automatically have Perth in there already. So I nothing that I've seen in the off season would suggest that Perth Wildcats are going to go downhill. I know people want to think that. They want to think that every year. Every year, experts on the East Coast want this is the year when Perth is going out of it.
I say it every year.
They've got So I just put Perth in. I don't take their blitz form to mean anything. Mitch Norton's not playing. Coach just got here. Todd Blanchard was not. They'll be fine. They will be fine. They'll be right in the picture. So that's one that I always just lock away. The other one that I think we can lock away is the Illawarra Hawks.
Yep.
I think they've improved from last year, and last year they were semi-finalists. So if they've improved, then you can say, well, they're now a championship contender. I believe they are.
Yep.
And then the other two, I'm really interested because I think Melbourne United, I suspect they're heading in a southerly direction. I'm not sure that Sydney. Yeah, I think Sydney and Brisbane are sort of going to be flattish. I think we've got Tasmania and Cairns will be down toward the South Pole. So then you go, well, who's left? I like Southeast Melbourne. I like New Zealand. I'm concerned about the situation with New Zealand with the latest COVID outbreak when everyone's been double vaxxed. And I'm concerned about how the draw is going to have to be, again, flexible and people maybe stuck in a city for a long time. But I'm actually, if all things work out reasonably well, we don't have too many interruptions or too many problems, and I'm going to say Southeast Melbourne and New Zealand will complete my four. But I'm very, very interested to hear what you've got to say. Yeah,
what do you got for your forwards?
Look, I kind of disagree with Boti in terms of my Kings, and no surprise there, right? But I think our roster looks good, right? And we're running a fast pace this year, right? Our team looks good. We got Chase Buford's at the helm now. Comes with a high pedigree. I just think that that import combination, specifically with Adams and what's the big man coming back again from last year, the power forward, Jarrell Martin, right?
Martin.
Yeah, he's going to be terrific, and I think we've got a nice squad together. I think we're probably looking at
Xavier Cooks.
Xavier Cooks is going to have a great season. He's shown that in the preseason so far. Biwali Bales, we had his coach on the show a few weeks ago. He's going to be an impressive young rookie that a lot of people are sleeping on. Sean Bruce, the veteran. I mean, I could keep talking, but I got my Kings, right? I got Illawarra Hawks, as Boti said, and then I've got the New Zealand Breakers, and I'm going to go for my fourth team as Illawarra, New Zealand, and Perth. All right, man. It's going to be Perth, right? Going to be Perth.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Gotta be
I was waiting for
Gotta
that.
be
whether you
Perth.
got
Yeah.
So pretty much Woody every year does the Corey Homicide Williams comment and says, "Oh, this is a year that Perth misses out absolutely." And normally they go on to sort of make the grand final or win it there. So I mean, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing that you've got them in there, Woods. That scares me a bit. So look, I guess I think we've all got Perth, Southeast, and Illawarra, right? So I think yeah. So
I don't have Southeast. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, you had Sydney and you had New Zealand, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to leave out New Zealand. I'm going to have Southeast. So my four would be Illawarra, Southeast, Sydney, and Perth. Look, I really think United are going to slip this year. Yeah, I do think Sydney will make it. I do like that lineup as well. I can see if I think Melbourne will definitely be worse off than last year. Adelaide's a real unknown, just with obviously the new coach and a very different roster. I think Brisbane could be quite good. But look, certainly agree with what Boti said as well. I think Cairns and the Jack Jumpers will certainly be towards the bottom. I don't see those teams sort of doing too much there. So I guess we're pretty similar with that four, right? We'll obviously see how we go with that.
There's a few variables there, but
sure.
Yeah.
All right. So if you boys done your homework,
and homework, absolutely. Yeah. Homework is my middle name actually. It's Homework Nodge. I don't know if you know that.
So what we sort of did, we thought we'd put together a bit of a list. Woody and I sort of like these lists we do where it's a favourite type list. It's not the best list, it can be quite subjective there. We'd like to put our favourite list there. So, Woody and I already, on an earlier episode, we named our top 10 favourite ever Atlanta Hawks, and that was a bit of a fun exercise to do that. So
that's
what
awesome.
we've sort of done there, we've come up with our top 5 favourite starting five. So not like a starting five that play together, but obviously putting together that roster and coming up with a 5 there. So
by position, right, Robbie?
By position, exactly right. So as if we're sort of picking an all-star team or something like that. So look, who wants to start? I'll leave it to
maybe we'll go by position each, Robbie. First point guard, and then let's do it that way, right?
Okay, I'll leave it that way. So all right, so Boti, who have you got for your point guard?
Well, I've already screwed up because my point guard is Rocky Smith. He's more a combo guard. And was a prolific scorer, an MVP of the league in 1980, just the smoothest mover that you could ever hope to see. I just loved the way he played the game. He had that really cool demeanour. He was playing for St Kilda. Brian Curl was the coach at that time and tried to get him a nickname of Magic, but his name was Rocky. If your name is Rocky, Magic's not going to stick. Everyone's
a nickname, Rocky.
But he was Magic on the floor, and in 1981, when St Kilda went and competed in the World Club Championship in Brazil, they made him an offer. A Brazilian club made him an offer that he couldn't refuse. So he stayed there, and he was lost to us. But those 2 years that he put in, he was just a fabulous player and one of my all-time favourites to watch. I'm sorry, he might predate you guys. You might not ever have seen him, but trust me, he was.
I've heard about Rocky though.
Definitely know him. Yeah. What about yourself there, Woody? Who you got for point guard?
There's no doubt, man. This guy's a showman. He came to this league from Rucker Park, from the streets of New York, took it to the rack. He's forged a great media career. I love the way he covers the game in this country. My man, Corey Homicide Williams, man. And I've watched a lot of point guards since the late 80s. But this guy was a showman, and him going out to Perth, Duncan winning that game, Croc Nation, that Townsville Crocodiles team with him and leading the way. Corey's my favorite point guard of all time, man, in this league. And he didn't have a jump shot to save his life, right? But, he took it to the rack and, he was able to lead that team. And him and Gleason's, relationship was great. And I loved it. I would love to just tune in to watch him play with Galen Young, that import combination. Rest in peace to Galen Young. But, man, John Rillie there, man, that was a team I loved. And Corey was a big part of that. So that's my guy.
I like that one. Any guesses for my point guard, Woods?
Say again?
Boti, what do you say? My point guard?
Boti.
I was going to say Corey. Corey just has Ben Simmons' jump shot, but go ahead.
Yeah, right, definitely. Yeah,
absolutely. A bit more confidence than Ben Simmons. Yeah, no. So for my point guard, Woods. I'm guessing you can probably guess this one.
I know who it is.
I've named my NBL fantasy team with this same name for about the last
12
years. So of course it's Ricky Grace, amazing Grace.
Omar.
Oh, mate, he's absolutely love this guy. You know, he's probably the all-time great Wildcat. It is a little bit sort of hard to work that out. I've still got him there. I wouldn't be surprised if Bryce Cotton ends up settling in Perth. He could, you know, eventually sort of maybe overtake him if he continues the way he started. But yeah, for me, it's Ricky Grace. All right, so let's go to the two guard.
Good choice.
Thinking
Good
there could be a
choice.
few similar ones here, maybe, but I'll start with Boti. Who have you got for your two guard?
I don't think you're going to pick this one because he played as a 2-3, mainly as a 3. But because I've got two guys that are very, very similar in the 2-3 spots, I've made Leroy Loggins my off guard.
Wow. Okay.
In my ideal team. Yeah. So I don't know that much needs to be said about Leroy. He was and remains to me the greatest import we've ever had.
Yep.
Bryce Cotton is gaining, but from 1982, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 6 years in a row, the NBL championship went through Leroy wherever he was. 2 years at West Adelaide, 4 years at Brisbane. You know, if you were going to win a championship, you had to beat Leroy. And I don't think anyone else comes close. You know, Bryce is getting there, but Leroy was the man. So he's my two guard.
That's a good one. What about yourself there, Woods?
I've spoken about him and have worn his jersey on the show before. And being a kid and watching him come to our shores in the early 90s, I was just in awe of this man, his athleticism, the way he could get it done in a lot of ways. LC, man, Leonard Copeland, right? I got him at the 2 spot, right? Just excitement machine, playing alongside Andrew Gaze. You know, I was saying, we didn't try to be Stockton and Malone in the backyard. Me and my brother tried to be Gaze and Copeland, right? So I got Copeland as my 2 guard, man. And,
Nice.
I even watched his last game, as I said, one of his last games at Homebush Olympic Park when he was playing the Razorbacks. So he was at Adelaide at the time, actually, Boti. So
yeah.
So
the graveyard.
Yep.
Nice. Well, for my 2 guard, I had to have the GOAT. Andrew Gaze, had to have him there. Yeah, absolute legend of the game. Love the way he played. You know, Woods, obviously, you know, I'm sort of partial to launching a few 3-pointers or 2. And I think that was just, you know, watching Gazy growing up, I was just in awe of that guy, the way he shot the ball. And definitely sort of, you know, inspired me to sort of, you know,
call, man.
Try and take a 3. Probably get one out of about every 20 these days. But no, it's all good. So Gazy for the 2 guard. All right. So what about the 3 or the small forward? What do you got for that one, Boti?
Before we move to that, do you know the story about the initial Hungry Jack sponsorship of the NBL? Like when they got it back in the 80s when they were sponsored? Because, well, Andrew Gaze is your man. And this is a true story. At that stage, the USSR team, the Soviet Union team, was touring and playing a series against Australia ahead of the Olympic Games in Seoul. They'd come in 87 and they'd come in 88. And they had a game in a place called the Glass House in Melbourne.
Yep.
Yeah, we know where it is.
Yep.
Collingwood hangs out. Yep. And the game went to overtime. Andrew hit a magnificent big shot, big 3 to force it into overtime, where unfortunately they lost it. They didn't beat the Soviets in a single game, but it was a magnificent performance. He scored something like 45 points. Wow. And after the game, it was on TV. After the game, they interviewed him. And they said, you know, how does it feel? During the interview, they said, what are you going to do now? He said, well, I'm going to go have a shower. I'm going to go home. I'm going to stop at Hungry Jack's on the way and get myself a waffle with cheese. And that's what he said. And the guy who was running Hungry Jack's, the boss of Hungry Jack's in Australia, was watching the coverage and was really excited by the game. Heard Andrew say that, got in touch with the NBL. That's how they got their first sponsorship with Hungry
I wonder if
Jack's.
Gazy's still getting free Whoppers or anything after that.
Last time I saw it looks like he's in a few years.
Very good.
All right, 3 guard. Three man, the small forward. Again, this is interchangeable with Leroy. It was Rob Rose. I mean, I just loved watching Rob Rose. I loved him at the Magic. He was fabulous at the Magic. He was phenomenal at the 36ers. And then, you know, some of the things he did with Townsville. Particularly that one against Sydney, that final where Sydney hit a big shot and like it was over, and he's just come down and pulled up and stuck a 3 and said goodbye Sydney out of that playoffs. Yeah, he was just a phenomenal. Brett Maher, whose book I wrote, whose biography I wrote, said in there was that one of the problems with playing with Robert was that he was so good that sometimes you just stopped and watched him. And there'd be like 4 teammates watching what Rob's doing. Rob's doing like, hey guys, you know, get into spaces. I'm creating here. But he brought it every day at training. Always wanted to win. He hated losing. Played with a passion, and I just loved watching him play. And I really my dream one-on-one matchup from the year is if you could have Leroy Loggins at his absolute best versus Robert Rose at his absolute best. That would be
I'd
a
pay to see
real
that.
fun one-on-one contest
Absolutely.
to watch. Yeah.
I like that. No,
Give
good
us
call.
yours, Woody. What do you got?
All right, at the 3 spot, man, I got to go for a guy who I thought was Superman. You know, like as a kid, I couldn't believe this guy was human. You know, and he was my idol growing up as a kid. I wanted to be just like him, and it's Dwayne the D-Train McLean. You know, I mean, every Sydney kid who was 7 or 8 years old, you know, just idolized this guy. So, I mean, I love Rob Rose, and his all-round game probably translated, you know, higher IQ, did a few more things on the court. But this isn't who are the greatest, you know, it's who is your favorite.
No,
so
that's it.
I'm going to go with D-Train. You know, Dwayne McLean is my 3, man. Yeah.
Nice one, Woods. I thought you probably would have the D-Train in there.
Hell
so
yeah,
that
man.
is a
Hell
great
yeah.
call.
Hell
So,
yeah.
Mate, even as a youngster sort of going to those Kings games and obviously, you know, wearing some sort of Wildcats jersey, it was always fun to see the D-Train.
Hell yeah, man.
So,
Yeah.
definitely. So, all right. So my small forward, I've got a pretty obscure one here. Andrew Parkinson. So, look, I mentioned before with Gazy. Yeah, I absolutely love the shooters, and I love watching this guy back in the day. So, you know, some of those games he used to have with the Southeast Melbourne Magic, if that guy caught fire, he would just cook, basically. So I think I saw some highlights last night where he might have scored 20 in a quarter one game against Wollongong or Illawarra back in the day there. So, yeah, Andrew Parkinson's one for me. So it's probably not a name you hear a lot about these days. But, yeah, I'll say Parky for my 3.
Awesome. That's a great one, yeah. And I'm not surprised you said that.
You know how long I've been looking for his jersey for, right, Woods?
Yeah, you can't find it, right?
I can't find it anywhere. If anyone knows where to get a Parky jersey, holler out to me and I'll get it. Very good. All right, so we're up to the 2 big man sort of positions now. So, Boti, who have you got for the power forward there?
The power forward I like is actually he mostly played centre in the NBL, played the power forward spot in the NBA because he was the transition of the big man from just a post-up game to an outside game. And that's Chris Anstey. I used to really enjoy watching Chris Anstey. Because he could take you out to the 3-point line, so he could put a smaller guy on him to sort of deal with him out there. Then he just posts you up. So now you've got to put a big guy back on him. Now he takes him back out. Like that versatility. I first saw it in the playoffs in '94 when he was just a rookie with the Melbourne Tigers. They were one game in arrears in the semi-final against Adelaide, and the game was in Melbourne, and the 36ers were winning quite comfortably, even though they were down Mark Davis at a shoulder injury. Anstey was brought in off the bench and just changed the complexion of that game, brought the Tigers right back into it, put them into a winning position. Then he was sat back down, and the 36ers pulled away and won. I think it was shortly after that he went and joined the Magic. And then from that point on, his career just went in an upward trajectory. MVP of the gold medal winning World Under-23 Australian team, and on to Dallas Mavericks and the Chicago
NBA,
Bulls in the NBA, and then Russia. Yeah, it's just had a great career. I just always watch. I love watching him play. To me, he was like our Kevin Garnett.
Yep.
As a comparison player, that's how I saw him, and he had attitude. You know, he didn't stand for much. I just liked everything about his game.
He'd be a good player in this era too, wouldn't he? Buddy? Like you said, with his 3-point shot and his sort of versatility and that there. So he was a little bit ahead of his time, maybe.
Absolutely. He was certainly part of the transition.
Yeah,
right.
he was. Yeah, agreed.
All right, which Sydney Kings player you got now for us, Woods?
I don't have a Sydney Kings player, man.
Okay. All right, cool.
It's like being on with Brad Rosen.
A few weeks ago, I had his jersey on, man. It was a special edition jersey.
Ooh,
I might have it.
Boti's going to like this one.
I have it here. In fact, I'll go get the jersey in a second after I say this, right? So, the greatest rebounder that's ever played in the NBL, man. You know, just had a knack for getting the ball. And you don't get the name the chairman of the boards for no reason, right? And you know, he's come here and he stayed in this country for 30 plus years. He was someone that I idolized as well as a kid. And you know who I'm talking about. My man, Mark Davis,
absolutely.
right? Oh, man, the guy, just a great basketball player, great rebounder, but even better man off the court, you know? So, and all the good work he's done in the community in your neck of the woods with his camps and helping grassroots level basketball body, amazing, right? So, surely
Boti's got a quick Mark Davis story.
Hold on, I'm going to get the jersey. Go, keep talking.
Yeah, go and get the jersey. But the amazing thing about Mark was his ability to offensive boards to always be in the right place. I mean, you got to know when you're playing against Adelaide, you've got to box out Mark Davis. Mark Davis is a man you got to box out when a shot goes up. Nonetheless, he would always find his way to wherever the ball was landing, and yeah, he'd be there finishing it off.
Now that jersey's
I don't
making an
actually
appearance.
Yeah, I'm not sure that. I'm not sure that's what was really written on the front of Mark Davis'
No.
I had to show that one off, right?
jersey. Yeah, no, he was a great player in his era, absolutely. And then he evolved as well. He started to add a 3-point shot to his game as the league got bigger, because he was always listed at 6'7", 201 centimeters. But if he's 6'5", that's really what he probably is. He's a lean, muscular 6'5".
Nice.
I'll tell you a really quick story. Really quick story.
Yeah.
The 36ers had an import called Orlando Phillips, who was on the Lakers, LA Lakers team, apparently. But back in those days, the late 80s, we didn't have a lot of information, so anyone could say they were the last person cut or they were on the Lakers. So Kareem Abdul-Jabbar brings his traveling Daydell's team to Australia.
I went to one of those games. Yep.
And, up in Brisbane, the 36ers are playing Brisbane Bullets on the Saturday. The Boomers are playing against the Daydells on the Friday. So the 36ers are all there, and the game ends, and Mark Davis is one of the ones saying to Orlando, "Hey, Orlando, go and say good day to your mate Kareem. You played with Kareem. He'll know. You go and say that." And Orlando's like, "Oh yeah, thanks, Mark. No, I don't want to bother him. I don't want to disturb him." So it's like the jig was up, and Davis kind of led the chorus of that to sort of expose the fact that maybe he wasn't an LA Laker, but just somebody that tried with them at the start of the season.
And Boti, that's almost a little bit like those imports in the 80s that were, supposed to be 6'8" or whatever, and they'd arrive at the airport and they'd shrunk to 6'4", right?
Yeah, Pacific Shrinker used to be known as, and there were a lot of them. Jeez, there were a lot of them. Yeah.
I think Wayne McDaniel mentioned. Sorry to interrupt there, Boti. Wayne
Orlando,
McDaniel.
He mentioned that Orlando was
on your show yesterday, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
Yep, we did.
All right. Well, look, I'll get onto my power forward.
Who's your power forward?
I've got another pretty obscure one there, Boti. It's probably not a name that you guys have thought of for a while. He had 6 seasons in the NBL. How about some Dave Colbert?
Right. Wow. I haven't thought of his name in a long time.
Yeah.
So, I was looking up some of his stats when I was doing some research last night. He had some crazy seasons, averaging over 30 points. He was a little bit ahead of his time. He was a big guy that could really shoot. He had a very sort of successful sort of stint with Melbourne there.
Melbourne,
he was playing with Simmons and everything like Dave Simmons. So, Dave Colbert, it's not sort of someone I think thought about it for a while, but I love watching that guy play when I was growing up. So, Dave Colbert for me. All right, so look, we'll finish off with this
Tim Morrissey from the Sydney Kings. I was going to say, he and Tim Morrissey from the Sydney Kings, they used to butt heads.
They did. Yeah.
Always fun to watch.
Yeah,
definitely. All right, well, who you got for your big guy, Boti?
Oh, look, I played around with a number of different players because there's a number of them that I really enjoyed watching, but I ended up on Brett Wheeler, because I've known Brett Wheeler since he was a kid coming through, playing juniors, making it into our district competition, and then on into the 36ers, and then on to a number of other destinations where for many years it looked like he was going to be denied ever winning a championship. He leaves Adelaide wins a championship, and he goes to, I think he went to the Magic and they beat the Magic, and then he was with the Titans, they beat the Titans. Then he goes and joins Perth, and that's when Sydney wins the championship for the first time. So he sort of seemed like he was jaded, but ultimately he got there with the Kings and under Brian Goorjian.
He did.
So really happy for him. He turned 50 a couple of days ago. So if he's watching this, happy birthday, Brett. Really enjoyed watching him play. Always gave his all. Always worked as hard as he possibly could on the floor. He was a wiry sort of big guy. You get to the hoop. Yeah, I love watching him play. So he's the one I settled on as my
That's a good one. Yeah, shout out to Brett Wheeler.
Awesome. And you could have probably interchanged Brett Wheeler and Chris Anstey between that 4 and the 5 spot easily, right?
That's it. Yeah. Works nicely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. What about yourself, Woods, for the big guy?
one guy who doesn't get as much respect that I think he should. He's a legend of Australian basketball. I mean, that rookie year he had with Cairns, All-Star MVP, played alongside Stephen Black, under Alan Black. Am I right in saying that, buddy?
Yeah.
Yep,
You're
I
talking
am.
about Nate Jawai, right?
I'm talking about Nate Jawai, man. Hell yeah, I
Yeah.
am. And he's a legend of Australian basketball. He's played all over the world. And his voice is just heard in that Cairns. I've spoken to Kiana Pinder recently. He tells me about like what kind of a good influence he's been on him already in the team so far. Not just for Australians, for Indigenous Australians. What he's done for this sport in this country. We often sleep on it. And I mean, that rookie season, I'm like, who is this guy? Like, you have got to be kidding me, man. You have got to be kidding me, right?
He brought people to the game. Absolutely. That first year, people came just to see him. It was amazing.
And I love that Cairns team, that rookie Cairns team. We talked about Aaron Grabeau recently on the show. So that team with Black, Grabeau, and Jawai, man, I loved it, right? And I fell in love with him from the first time I ever saw him, and I'm still a huge fan today. So my pivot man is Nathan Jawai, right?
I like that one, Woods. I like that.
He was MVP of the All-Star game.
He was indeed. He was indeed. Yeah.
And afterwards, in the after-match function, he was just sitting. He got a little plate, just put some food on it, and he just sat quietly in a corner. You know, he was just such a timid, lovely bloke. You know, and minutes earlier, there's thousands swimmers he's throwing down dunks. He's
Hell
lovely
yeah,
man. Lovely man, Nate.
Hell yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, look, I'll bring it home with the centre. So I've only had one Wildcat so far, there, fellas. So that's probably a bit of a surprise. So give me some Alabama slammer, James Crawford.
Yeah.
He's probably someone that we all sort of, really, really love the way he played. I mean, he was so athletic and ahead of his time back then. Look, I remember going down to a game in Canberra with my brother. It was a Perth Canberra game, and James Crawford got the game winner. I think it was some sort of tip-in or something on the buzzer. I just loved the way he played, a great sort of career with the Wildcats. Obviously, he wasn't with them for his whole career. But, yeah, JC for me. Again, probably not a name I've heard for a while. I don't know if either of you have heard what JC's up to these days at all.
He stayed in Australia for a while, didn't he, buddy?
Yeah, he did for a while, but I don't know if he's here now. I think he might have gone back, but I'm not sure. As Wayne McDaniel told us on the Brad and Body podcast that when he was a teammate with James, that at training, the dunks he threw down at training, at Geelong were even more amazing than what you might have seen in games. Sometimes you just go and grab a drink and sit down and just watch James throwing them down left, right, and centre.
I used to like to mimic his free throw technique as well. I'd sort of get out there and he had that thing where he'd hold his hands up and do the free throw. So I used to like sort of mimicking that one. Look, I really enjoyed doing that, guys. I just wanted to see if any of you guys had any snubs or anything like that. Now's the time. If there's anyone that was close to making it that you felt bad leaving off, maybe you can let me know.
I felt bad leaving out Paul Reeves. Because he gets no credit. People think of him as this sort of big doofus guy that would just set screens and and clumsy, fumble around, all that sort of stuff. But he was in 5 championship teams. Success followed him around. So if he was just setting screens, he was certainly setting screens for the right people. And often his rebound stats didn't really reflect that he should be 6'10", he should be getting more rebounds, but it often didn't reflect the fact that he would box out 2 or 3 other guys, and then Martin Catalini or someone else would come flying through and get the rebound stats. So he's the only one I had debate between him and Brett Wheeler, but in the end, I just liked the way Wheeler went about it. It's just a fraction more.
No, that's a good one. What about yourself, Woody? Any snubs?
Andre Lafleur, man. If it wasn't for Corey Homicide Williams, I would have Andre Lafleur as my point guard, man.
Yeah,
Gold Coast Rollers, Mike Mitchell, man. That team with Goodwin. Oh, man. I'd have Andre Lafleur. And it was really hard for me, but I just love Corey, so I put him in there. But that's my guy. Maybe David Close as well. I'm a big fan of David Close. Radar was my guy, but, apart from those two, I think, and Rob Rose, I mentioned that earlier, just Dwayne McLean, but okay.
Like I said, Woody, I did break the rules when we did our top 10 Atlanta Hawks and came up with a top 20. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to give you another 5. I'm going to do it quickly, though. I don't want to keep us here all night.
All right,
so my second 5, backcourt, Damian Martin and Bryce Cotton. Forwards, Leroy Loggins and Scott Fisher, and Simon Dwight as the centre.
Oh, hell yeah. I got his jersey sitting there as well, Simon Dwight. Right?
And with apologies to Eric Watterson, Al Green, and Mark Worthington. They're the 3 that I'm going to give
All right, man. All right.
Oh, yeah. Wortho is another one.
Sydney
love
Kings
the way
legend.
they went about it.
For me, it was Werther or Anstey in the 4th spot.
Yeah, yep. That was fun. And look, there was a couple of other guys that only played one season that I love too, so obviously wouldn't consider them. A bit of Chris Jantons and Calvin Talford. So
Doug Overton.
That's true with the Hawks. Yep. No, very good. All right, I really enjoyed
It's also
doing
interesting how many of them, like you mentioned Andre Lafleur, he's another one that actually came here to play Siebel. He was playing for Mount Gambier.
That's right.
In the same way Bruce Bolden had a 17-year career in the NBL.
Yep.
He'd already spent a season in Norway and a season with the Gippsland Lakers in the SEABL. So it's interesting how many guys actually started somewhere else and then got spotted or didn't realise maybe that there was a better competition to be had.
Very good. All right. Well, really enjoyed doing that now. So, all right. So, look, I thought we might just go briefly go into the Aussies in the NBA, right, Woods? I think we just wanted to have a quick sort of touch on that, just with regards to Josh Giddey. Just wanted to sort of see what, Boti's thoughts were on Josh, maybe what Boti's sort of expectations were for Josh going into the season. Just to sort of see what your thoughts were on Josh.
I think he's doing better than we anticipated. Faster. That's really what I'm getting at. He's doing it faster than what we anticipated. I thought his game would translate better to the NBA than it did to the NBL because of the general degree of athleticism of his teammates. So that he can drive. I've seen him drive baseline, draw 2 defenders, throw a cross-court pass to the 45. Guy catches it, hits a 3. In the NBL, guy doesn't catch it. It goes out of court. It's a turnover. So his game is able to translate much better into the NBA. What he's doing already is what surprises me. The fact that he's already getting the sort of numbers, he's already tickling a triple-double at this stage so early in his career. That surprises me. I thought it would have taken a little bit longer for him to find the pace and the tempo, but no, he hasn't surprised me. But the speed with which he's done it, that has surprised me. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, I watched I was going to say I watched the Atlanta Hawks game against OKC earlier this week, and just so impressive. I mean, like you said, just that ability to sort of, see over the defender and his passing there. And look, I think he's a little bit more athletic than what people give him credit for. He gets up and down the court pretty fast there. And he's not going to, be a high flyer going and dunk over 2 people, but I think his athleticism's fine. And I think he's obviously such a smart player. He'll learn this role in the NBA further. And I think we've really got a good one there.
Yeah, I agree with both you guys. He had his career high 19 today, Look, with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander out for the last few games, Giddey's been given the keys to the offense, guys, right? And I know it's a small sample size, just a couple of games, but he's putting up 17, 7, and 8 averages. And then even before SJA was out, he was starting to put together. This was his 5th straight double-digit scoring game. I mean, the assists will come, and he's a terrific rebounder from the point guard position. But it's nice to see him scoring. His 3 ball's getting better every day, and man, he's exciting man. He could be our greatest ever player once it's all done, So
that's a good call.
The thing that's interesting is that I'm sure neither of you rated OKC at the start of the season.
No.
You wouldn't have rated that.
I still don't, buddy. Yeah.
No, but geez, they got 6. What? How many wins they got up? 6 or 8 or something? They're doing way better than
they're way better than we thought. I agree with that. Yeah. Definitely.
Good call. And Woods, I believe you wanted to sort of say something quickly on a guy that's a bit of a hero for you too. That's an Aussie in the NBA, but you're probably not going to be as complimentary as you normally are about it.
I love this guy, but I just told you, Josh Giddey's had 5 consecutive double-digit scoring games, right? But my man Joe Ingles has only hit double figures once in his last 10 games. I'm just going to throw some facts out to you guys. He's disappointed me this season. He looks lost on the court, extremely timid. I remember in his first couple of seasons with the Jazz, he was like that, almost refused to take shots at times. I'm not sure what's going on with him. We may just be seeing the decline with that age. He's 34 now. I've always said with Mike Conley and him playing together, I just don't like it. Sometimes Joe just disappears when Conley's on the court. We may just be seeing the decline in his production. You got Rudy Gay coming back now. So, I mean, give me your thoughts, man. Give me your thoughts. You agree with me on this? It just could be his age, or
he definitely has looked a bit down this year. But look, I agree with the sort of Mike Conley thing there. I think we saw, the times when Conley goes out, Ingles comes into the lineup, and he looks fine out there. So maybe he's not sort of just handling the role. I think they're probably a lot deeper Utah as well this year, so they're probably not relying on him as much maybe as in the past couple of seasons. But that's probably my take on Joe Ingles. That must have been hard for you to say that, right, Woody?
Oh man, it was, because I love the man. He's an idol of mine. So Buddy, what do you think?
Do you put any? I was going to say, do you put any store in the fact that for 12 years, and a bunch of Olympic Games. The goal was to get a medal.
Yep.
And they've achieved it. And he may be suffering from the equivalent of a premiership hangover sort of thing that we finally got there. He played a very good second half in that final, in that bronze medal game. He left it all out there. He didn't do the shy away from the open shot. He took them. And Paddy had that 26-point first half and then created for others. And Joe was one of the ones he created for who made the shots. So now you've reached that high that you've been aiming for since. Well, I don't know what, Beijing was his first Olympics, so 2008
it was,
through 2021. That's a 13-year span of disappointment, really, of some great performances, but ultimately disappointment. And now you've hit that spot where we made it. Maybe you rock back into Utah and you're just not quite as focused on the Jazz as you maybe should be. And as you say, at 34, this is a period of time where he probably can't afford to be a bit off his game, but I just wonder if that has any kind of impact, or that has had any kind of impact on it.
You may be right, Boti. And for us Australians, the international game and the Olympics, representing country means a lot more than it does to say, the Americans, right? So that's the pinnacle for us, not an NBA championship, so to speak, right? So that could be the case. And I wouldn't mind seeing him back in Australia, and this being potentially his last contract. He probably will get picked up for a couple more years, but we'd love to see him back in Southeast Melbourne potentially, or Adelaide, when he's an Adelaide boy originally as well, from Happy Valley. Am I right?
Yes, played for the Southern Tigers. But I don't. His indications have been in the last few years that he would go back and stay in Melbourne, given that his wife is from Melbourne. A lot of their support would be there too. I mean, he's got family in Adelaide, obviously, but I'd be surprised if he came to Adelaide. I'd be a lot more. Southeast Melbourne, I reckon, is where he
could try and get one of those Delhi contracts, right? Get one of those Dellavedova contracts and come back.
I believe Kyle Adnan is with his sister. Kyle Adnan is engaged to his sister, his wife's sister, or something like that, right?
That's correct.
Right. No, that's a good one, Woody. Good one. Well, look, Boti, this is the part of the show where Woody basically just carries on like a little kid and opens his pack of NBA cards and gets all excited. You can see it now. This is going to be fun. So, all right, Woods, over to you, mate. The classic pack segment.
So I'll tell you the rules, Boti. I'll just open up a pack of cards and I'll put the pack to the camera, and then you guys just tell me a little bit about what you think. And hey, listen, it's only fitting the first card that I pull. It's not Woody, but it is Woody. It's Mike Woodson.
Oh, wow. That's a good one.
Is that a name you remember?
Yeah, everyone knows Mike Woodson as a coach now, but that's a random one going back, isn't it? I don't really remember much about
part of their championship. Was he part of their championship group?
Might have been a bit before that.
Just before.
Right.
All right, this is what I remember. Washington Bullets, Purvis Ellison.
Ooh, never nervous Purvis.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was very, very highly regarded out of college, wasn't he? Didn't quite have the career that people expected.
No. Trust you to laugh, buddy.
Well, is that his nickname? Never nervous.
1991 hoops, just to confirm, guys. I know. Okay, this is awesome, and he's been in the news lately. We've talked about him on the show a lot. Robbie absolutely loves this guy. Not Scottie Pippen. Yeah.
Why have you gone off him?
I was never on Scottie Pippen. I don't know. I just not a big fan. I think it was probably because I was such a Dominique fan and I thought he was a better small forward. That probably came down to it. But I just thought probably Pippen was a little bit overrated. And now he's carrying on like a pork chop when he's. Oh, look at this.
We talked about him yesterday.
Well,
in the last 3 weeks, we have not pulled a Hawks card. I got a Hawks card for you. Finally. And I got one that Boti's going to love as well, right? Who do I have? Glenn Doc Rivers.
Glenn Rivers. Nice.
Oh, my God.
Even better.
I'm loving the Glenn Rivers bit as well. I haven't heard him called that for a while.
I catch up yesterday.
So many people don't even know the Glenn.
No, that's very good.
Everyone thinks he's Doc. It's Glenn.
Yep. Love that old Hawks logo as well.
Oh, this is good because we saw his son play today. He is affectionately referred to as the Mitten, but before the Mitten, there was the rookie of the year, the rookie from the 1990 season, Gary the Glove Payton.
A rookie card. You might be able to retire on that one, Woods. I like that.
Wow.
No, I don't know who he's calling there, but he's looking pretty happy about getting
Probably calling
on.
Sean Kemp, man. Where you at, man?
I'm coming to join you.
Yeah.
I want to lob your ball.
Maybe Nate McMillan, right? Rest in peace to this guy. Not only was he a great basketball player, he was a contestant on Survivor. Can you believe it?
Oh, wow.
Uncle Cliff.
Uncle
Cliff. All right.
Cliff Robinson. And that's a rookie card as well.
It is an
right?
Uncle Cliff rookie card.
Yeah.
Wow. I like
Gone
that one.
too soon.
Yeah,
Uncle
definitely
Cliff,
rest
man.
in peace to Cliff. Had a great career.
And he was actually one of the original stretch 4-5s, You know, he picked up that 3-point shot in the early noughties and loved him, right?
That's a good one. This is way better than that pack we had last time for the 90-91 cards, right?
Okay. This is a guy that I don't even know. And you're an encyclopedia. Boti's an encyclopedia. Jerome Lane from the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, I do remember him. Yeah, he was in those run and gun sort of days where they just used to score 160 points a game and stuff like that.
Under Doug Moe's tutelage, right? That was the team.
What did you think of that uniform?
I loved it. Did you know?
Woody's got an Alex English jersey.
I've got an Alex English jersey in the same uniform.
Like that.
Same as that.
So, if you don't like it, let us know, Boti. Let us know.
No, I just thought it was too colourful.
Well, I'm a colourful guy, man. You know, I like to be the centre of attention, Boti. Not like you don't, right? So come on, man. All right, Indiana Pacers. Mike Sanders.
Ooh, yeah, Mike Sanders. I do remember him. Did he maybe play for the Cavs as well, Woods? I don't know if
he did play for the Cavs, Robbie.
He did play for the Cavs.
How could I ever get one past you, Robbie Clayton?
Yeah,
you know, you are the man, bro. Right? I can never get one past you. Okay, this is unbelievable. But it is a checklist card of Larry Bird.
Okay, well that's not a proper checklist.
But it's a Boston Celtics card. It's a checklist Boston Celtics card. It's a Boston Celtics checklist card. And what do we do with checklist cards?
Yeah.
What would Lee Ellis from No Dunks tell us to do?
You better show Boti what you're going to do with that, Woods.
All right.
Oh. No, Larry.
It's gone.
Wow. You did that to Larry.
Yeah, it is a checklist card.
I tell you, you know how I said before that I would love to see a one-on-one between Leroy Loggins and Rob Rose in their prime. I'd love to see a one-on-one with Larry Bird and LeBron James in their prime.
Ooh, good call.
I think that would be really interesting.
That is a good
They're
call.
Strong, similar. I mean, I know they involve other players, so one-on-one isn't necessarily their strength, but I still like to see it.
Yeah,
I reckon Larry Bird would be talking a bit in that matchup too, right?
Yeah,
and I reckon it would work. He'd end up getting an elbow in the eye and cutting 1 week suspension.
That wasn't a Larry Bird card. It was just Larry Bird on the front of a Boston Celtics checklist card. And Lee Ellis from No Dunks, that's his rule, right, Robbie? And we got to keep it up, right? We got to keep it up. Agree. This is my guy. Hey, Boti, if I ever have a son, Robbie says I should name him this.
No.
Okay? I should name him this. Okay? Mookie Blaylock, right?
Mookie Blaylock. For Mookie Blaylock. Wow.
If I ever have a son, everyone who's listening, Robbie says I should name him Mookie. Is that right, Robbie?
That's right, mate. I think he made our top 3 for our favourite ever Atlanta Hawks players, right? On both
he was number 2 for me, I think, from memory.
One of the best defenders as well that's played that position in the NBA. He was just a master at getting steals there. So that's a great card there.
And give us an interesting fact about Mookie Blaylock.
What the whole Pearl Jam thing, right?
Yeah, say that.
Yeah, so basically Pearl Jam were actually going to call themselves Mookie Blaylock. I'm that much of a fan of him. They decided to stick with the Pearl Jam name, but they actually did have an album that was named 10, which was named after the number that Mookie wore all his career there. So yeah, a bit of a fun fact.
All right.
Quick shout out to Mookie Scarali, who used to write a stern warning and is a big Sydney Kings fan.
Nice.
I don't know if you guys know him, but
much love to Mookie. All right, Charlotte Hornets, Johnny Newman.
Ooh, Johnny Newman. Yep. Yeah, he wasn't too bad a player. I don't have much facts on hand about him.
I remember him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we all remember this guy, man. 5'10", Dana Barros.
Oh, Dana Barros, mate. One of my favorites.
Yeah, you got his jersey, right?
Dana Barros. I've got 2 Dana Barros jerseys, believe it or not. Woods, you know I love those 3-point shooters, and he was an amazing shooter. So.
I know, dog. And
how many rookie cards did you get in this pack?
I got so many, man. I got so many. This is awesome. Do you want any of these? Do you want me to give you any of these?
We'll probably fight over the Mookie Blaylock. We'll have a competition to see who can get that one.
All right. Roy Hinson.
Yeah.
Wow.
New Jersey Nets.
Pass as well. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got a Pistons take a 3-1 lead against Portland in the NBA playoffs card, right?
Interesting. That was the year the Pistons won, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
19.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. It'd have to be if it's the final.
Yeah.
It was 89 the year before, right? So just before Bulls took on the Lakers in 1990, was it? 1991? Yeah.
I remember
So
Joe
the Pistons
Dumars
won the
was
year
amazing
before
in that series.
Yeah, and Jordan went back to the drawing board and came back in the next year, right?
Mhm.
That was it. Yeah.
Rest is history, right?
Rest is history.
Yeah.
And we talk about
unless you're Scottie Pippen, because then it can change. The history can change.
That's right.
and we talk about one of the greatest coaches of all time, man. And we
Chris
talk about
Ford.
that. No, we talk about that 2004. Give me a fun fact about Larry Brown, man.
Larry Brown. Well, yeah, he's coached just about everyone that can be coached, right? I think he's actually being an assistant coach for Memphis with Penny Hardaway this year, right? He's Penny Hardaway got him to sort of come out of retirement and be a bit of a consultant type sort of thing there. But yeah, Larry Brown. I know Jalen Rose is not a fan of Larry Brown because he never played him when he was coaching him. But
I know Darko Milicic isn't either.
No,
right?
that's true. Look at that old Spurs logo as well in that card. There's lots of color in that.
Man, when I actually got basketball cards in 1990-91, my dad used to go to the USA and bring back packs of hoops for me. I remember this card from 30 years ago. I've got it somewhere in my folder.
Really?
So, yeah, I remember this very card.
21 years ago at the Sydney Olympics, he was Rudy Tomjanovic's assistant coach for the USA team.
Yep.
And there was a game against Lithuania that they were very, very lucky to get out of. And there was a late timeout, and Larry took over the timeout. He basically bumped Rudy out and took over the timeout so that they could run a play and win the game because, they were on the verge of getting knocked out. And
good call.
They had been so cocky all week. All week they've been so cocky that they just the thought of getting knocked out was anathema. It was really good. That was a night. Lithuania was playing so well. They really hadn't drawn a big crowd. There were a lot of people in the Olympic precinct that were attending, other things, athletics, gymnastics, whatever, other things. And as this game wore on, the crowd just built because it was obvious that Lithuania was not going to go away in this game. And in actual fact, I think they had a 3-point lead, and one of their shooters, who I'm not going to name because he's had to live with this for the rest of his life. He was fouled on a 3-point shot. He went to the line. He missed all three. Would have put him, I think, 6 up. And inside the last minute, they would have got it. And he short-armed all three. Poor bugger. And USA gets out of it, but largely because Larry Brown takes over the timeout.
Very good. Good fact on that one. Is that it, Woods?
Is that it?
That's it. That's my pack, man.
I like it. That was a great pack.
That was fun, though, right? That was fun, right?
We had some good names there, didn't we? So a lot of people are still sort of relevant today. So lots of fun as always, Woods. So, all right, that pretty much takes us to the outro. And look, just wanted to, I guess, firstly thank Boti for being so gracious with your time there. We do really appreciate it. It's been really fun today, sort of going through this. So
much fun.
Yeah, and Woody, did you have any corrections from last week? I know you're always very honest. If you make a mistake, you like to own up to it. So any corrections?
I do. And I know on last week's show with Joseph, I mentioned that Jimmy Rogers passed away. I'm very sorry to the whole of the Rogers family. He is still alive and well, right, Robbie? I got that wrong. Man.
Yeah, so of course Jimmy Rogers, won 6 titles as an assistant coach, 3 with the Celtics, 3 with the Bulls, and he is very much alive. So that's a good correction there, Woods. Very good. All right. Well, look, I just wanted to, I guess, really thank.
Wow.
at least we came clean though, right, Boti? We could have just left that one out there, but
Robbie said no one would notice, man. But yeah. I had to come clean.
I just tell you a quick story. In '72, the only South Australian in the Olympic team for Munich was a guy called Glenn Marsland, very good player for West Adelaide. And some years ago, about a decade ago, Basketball Australia put out this thing called First Five. They were trying to find all the players that had represented Australia at anything, Oceania, any sort of tournament. And in this particular program that they sent out, it had at the back who had died, and they had Glenn Marsland. It was rest in peace, Glenn Marsland. He was working up in Cairns at that time, and I knew his ex-wife, so I rang Mary and said, Mary, has Glenn passed away? She said, well, not that I know of. I said, you got a number for him? She gave me a number. I rang it. It's ringing. Someone picks it up. I said, I don't know if I've got the right number. I'm hoping to find Glenn Marsden because I believe he may have passed away. He says, he said, I've just done a 10K run. I think I might be about to pass away.
Very good.
He was okay, and he's still alive today, thank goodness.
Thanks for rubbing salt into the wound. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure.
Great story. Oh, look, I just wanted to just confirm where you can find us. Look, we sort of go through these just quickly, sort of at the end of each episode. But look, obviously, if you're not following us on Twitter, we're at Throwback Hoops. Check out the Twitter site there. We'll obviously be posting photos of the jerseys we wear and sort of all those sort of things we show off there. Look, if you want to sort of find us on Instagram, we're throwback.hoops. I know Woody's been adding some stuff to the Instagram account this week. And lastly, I guess our email address is the throwbackhoopspodcast@gmail.com. Just wanted to say on that one as well, we are going to be having a bit of a viewer questions type episode coming up in a few weeks. Yep. So, yeah, if anyone's got some questions they'd like Woody and I to sort of cover there, feel free. It could be anything, NBL, NBA, anything you want us to sort of go through there, and we'd be sort of happy to answer those. So I just wanted to see, Boti, obviously, thanks so much for coming on the show, and just wanted to see if you enjoyed yourself.
No worries. Absolutely, yeah. Talking basketball, basketball is my second life, and I'm happy to talk about it at any time with anyone. So, and especially two guys that is obviously as passionate as you two. This has been a lot of fun for me, and I really hope you enjoy the book. And buy your own.
I'll buy my own. I'm
going to start on it tonight after dinner, Boti. So I'll get the little one to bed and I'll start reading that. And Boti, where can sort of people sort of find your work and your podcast sort of details and everything else like that?
We've got the Brad and Boti podcast with Brad Rosen, which is on Twitter. You can find us at Brad and Boti, BOTI. I've got my website, www.botinaj.com, BOTINAGY.com. It's called Basketball on the Internet, which people eventually work out is BOTI. Although a lot of people don't ever see it. And that's mainly where you can get my stuff. I also do some work with Radio Tab on Wednesday mornings at around about 8 a.m. SA time and Queensland time. But that's SA, Queensland, Northern Territory and Tasmania get that. So that's where you can find me, and you can find my book in Dimmicks, and if you can't, then ask for it and they'll order it in for you.
Exactly. Yeah, really
I think we'll put on Twitter. We'll post on Twitter a little bit about it, so like our audience know where they can find it on Facebook and on Instagram as well. So that'd be good.
And Boti, I have one really, really important question before we let you go. I'm trying to get some tips on moustaches, right? I know you're obviously the man to sort of ask about that. So if you've got any tips for growing the perfect moustache, what do you reckon?
I think the key to getting your moustache to be the way you want it to be, first of all, you need to stroke it a lot. And I think you find if you stroke it a lot, it'll just go up by itself.
Hey, we're still talking about moustaches, right?
Tip I can give you. Yeah. I'm not sure.
Hey, listen, man, I'm definitely the best looking one out of the three of you, man. Ain't no doubt in that, man. Ain't no doubt in that, man. All right. So, you two giving me shit about being a Sydney fan, all that, man. Come on, right? Like, get rid of your moustaches. That's what I say, right?
It's November, mate. We're supporting
This is November, yeah. This is just November.
Right. Although, as Woody will say, I've had this for a couple of months now. So
December 1st, get rid of it, right? Get rid of it. 1st. Go for the goatee. Go for the goatee, all right?
All right. Well, look, just wanted to really... Sorry, Boti, you go.
Okay, that's right. No, that's okay. It's got the flavour saver, that's all.
It's been great fun today. I've really enjoyed this. And look, Boti, we'd love to have you back at a later date.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Get in touch and everything like that there. And just wanted to really thank everyone from the Throwback Hoops crew for sort of
TBH Army, Absolutely. Much love. Yeah.
We can't wait to do it again next week. And peace out to everyone.
Much love, peeps. Thanks, guys.
See you guys. Thank you.